questions answered with both Hamid and Jared. Gentlemen, please introduce yourselves.
I'll kick it up. Jared, you can follow me on Rocco_3733. Appreciate any follows, and I'm cool following back. Happy Sunday. Rocco_3733. Appreciate it.
That's not me, right? Okay. I'm Fantasy Geek. Follow me on Twitter at Fantasy Geek. Well, I'm cursing, but yeah. Yeah, you can follow me there, and then the DFS Roundtable group on Facebook.
Hey guys, Hamid Tanju here. You can follow me on Twitter at FFJunkie85, and also I'm going for 2.com with my weekly buy low, sell high dynasty players. By the way, Jared, are you following Ryan Tannehill on Twitter?
No, Hamid. What have you worked up here?
What kind of fan are you? You're like the biggest hype man for Tannehill. I figure you follow him on Twitter, Instagram. You probably have his Facebook information.
Have you seen his schedule for the back half? It's brutal, man. You gotta avoid. You honestly, I'm avoiding him on the back end, man. It's bad.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley is inactive.
All right,
yeah,
so
Calvin Ridley is officially
of the day from AJ Smithington, Pollard, DJ Dallas, Damian Harris, Jordan Howard. Who you take in what order?
That's kind of ugly, but why? I mean, is he gonna start all four? Like,
He just wants you to put them in order of priority. Who would you prioritize first, second, third, and fourth?
I think Dallas is locked in as a low RB1. I mean, high RB2, low RB1, followed by Damian Harris, who, when given touches, he's had 2 100-yard games with, I think, at least 13 touches. So I think Damian Harris will be a second. And, man, between Pollard and Howard, I mean, Pollard has the Steelers this week. It's a tough matchup. I would rank him ahead of Jordan Howard. So it'll be DJ Dallas, Damian Harris, Pollard, and Howard for me.
Same, but I'm going to swap. Even though it's going to be RBVC, I think I'm going to swap. As tough as it is to put Howard in the front, considering he's been scratched the whole time. But if Zeke Elliott can't run the football, I don't have faith in Pollard. Maybe game script, you might pull some PPR points, but I kind of lean Howard here. I have him.
Yeah, he said wire availability, so it's waiver wire. DJ Dallas should be the number one guy there. I don't think.
Yep.
I like Damian Harris, but not in this matchup. Pollard, not in this matchup. Jordan Howard, I'll never play Jordan Howard.
Yeah, I mean, the first 2 backs are your best bet.
Jason Scott,
That's crazy.
DJ Moore, Mike Williams, or Marquise Brown. Which of those 3 would you play today?
Well, I'm not playing Marquise Brown out of those 3. It's down to Mike Williams. Keenan Allen is going to be playing, so if anybody has Mike Williams expecting that high floor of wide receiver 2 range, I think we got to lower that back to a wide receiver 3. I'm still playing DJ Moore out of those 3, just because of the wide receiver 1 upside that he has.
Jared?
Well, Hamid, today's where we're just getting along in the sandbox, my friend.
That's a problem. That's a problem.
I have to co-sign with that analysis, sir.
All right. So, no more questions. We're going to go with the G-Pod, who, if you're listening last week, you played Miami's defense like you suggested and made some money. So, G, what do you have this week for everyone on your DFS? This starts.
So
that's a big glass. What are you drinking out of there?
There's a lot of ice and then there's Red Bull. So I just want to apologize about last week. I realized I named like so many plays. So this week I'm only gonna name 3 at each position that I really like. Quarterback, hold on, sorry. Justin Herbert, John Watson, and Russell Wilson. And then I know I just said I'm only gonna name 3, but the 3 guys I like is Derek Carr, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes.
Did you say Derek Carr?
Derek Carr.
This guy wants to know who would you stack with Derek Carr outside of Waller?
Ruggs.
Okay. Ruggs, Jared. Oh, hi, Jared. It was Jared that wanted to know that. All right, sorry, go ahead.
Running back, Dalvin Cook. Is it me or am I getting neck here? I'm sorry.
What's wrong?
I feel like I'm getting an echo. Is it me or you guys hearing an echo from me?
No.
I'm not getting one. I did have some connection issues, and I'm still in right now, but that's about it.
Dalvin Cook is the #1 player today. He's going to be very highly owned. As we got the news earlier on that, what's his name, Christian McCaffrey is going to be sharing his workload with
Mike Davis.
Mike Davis. I already forgot who he was. The next player I like is Chase Edmonds versus Miami. Justin Jackson versus Las Vegas Raiders. James Conner versus Dallas Cowboys. And what's his name? DJ Dallas. Those are my main core. But I think one guy that really stands out right now is if Zeke is out, is Tony Pollard. You're probably not going to get that news from the afternoon game, just like last week when we got that Carson officially out, But before the show, I said that I predict that Zeke will be out. There's no reason to roll him out. They're tanking. They're not going to win this game anyway. Those are mostly the guys I like right there at running back. I like Derrick Henry too, but wide receiver, I usually stack my wide receiver with my quarterback. So I'm going to say it the way I always say it.
Say it.
So everybody, if you're really listening, just be ready. Julio! For sure. I love Julio today. I feel like I do this every year. I have 1 week where I just call him out Don Julio week. And Julio Jones just a smash play today versus Denver with no secondary really to stop him. 7,200, kind of underpriced too. And no Calvin Ridley. I just had a stat. Crap, I couldn't find it. But I know he averaged almost nearly 24 points when Calvin Ridley is inactive or something like that. I'm not sure 100%, but he's very, very, he's just pepper targeted. And I don't expect Blake Bell or what's his name? Kristen Bell or something like that? What's his name? Or Russell Gage. I don't even know the wide receivers. Only Russell Gage.
It's Russell Gage in the slot.
Yeah, I just expect Julio to have a monster game. It kind of gives me a gut feeling like last week when I was feeling Dalvin Cook and he had a monster game. The other guys I like is definitely most of the Seattle wide receivers, all the wide receivers for the Buffalo Bills. I love Tyreek Hill this week, along with the wide receivers in the Carolina, Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. They're both underpriced. That's very interesting. I think you can play the Vikings wide receiver, but be skeptic, don't play too much of them. The value wide receivers of the week are, for me, DJ Shark. He's very underpriced at 5,200 in a matchup versus Houston. I don't expect Houston to do much. And I know a lot of people don't really know a lot about Jake Luton or Luton. I don't know how to say his last name. But he actually has a pretty strong arm. What's his name? Greg Cosell. He did a write-up on him. He said he was very underrated out of college, and that basically he's gonna do what Gardner Minshew couldn't do, throw the ball down the field with arm strength, basically. But I don't know how accurate he is. But DJ Shark at 5,200 is a pretty good play. Marvin Jones Jr. is another of my favorite value plays. And then John Brown, 4,600. Tight end.
AG, question for you. What's your opinion? How do you feel on Tim Patrick? He's filled in wonderfully for Courtland Sutton this season, being back.
I don't mind him. I have him and Judy as a value play, but if I named all my value plays, I'd be talking all day. But I like Tim Patrick. I think he's actually a very good football player, I guess you could say. I just think he plays hard. He got injured, right? So we didn't really see him last week, or he didn't play last week, right?
Right.
Correct.
So
he didn't play last week. And he's questionable this week.
Yeah, he looks like he will play.
Tim Patrick is active.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on real quick. G, the question from Smithington, who do you like better, Justin Herbert or Deshaun Watson today?
That's like picking one of my favorite nephews. Let's see. I definitely.
I'm taking Deshaun Watson only because I expect him to having to score more with a bad defense. Herbert does actually play behind a pretty decent defense, so that may limit Herbert's upside as far as having to throw the ball as much. So given that Watson has to always throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns at least, I think that's his floor today. So I'll take Watson over Herbert. If this is DFS, of course, the value is probably with Herbert. I'll lean to fantasy to the G over here to answer that question regarding DFS. But in redraft, give me Watson.
I'm sorry, but I can't say the Chargers defense is a good defense this year. They've been abysmal.
I said no. I didn't say they're a good defense. I said they're the better of the two defenses. He's playing the better defense than Deshaun Watson.
I think it's just the game environment I want to target more. Is the Herbert side. Watson has he's facing the Jaguars, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I just like Watson for the higher upside in there. No, Herbert for the higher upside there because the Raiders just you can correlate them. If this is a DFS question, sorry AJ, I don't know if it is or not, but I definitely like Herbert more this week. I mean, they're both the same price almost. I believe they're $6,800 and Watson $7,100, so $300 difference. But I like Herbert because you can stack him with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, and I like that better than Cook and Fuller. So.
Speaking of what happened to Hunter Henry, man? He's off the radar now at this point.
Who?
Jared, which one do you want? Herbert or Watson?
I still stick with the faster quarterback, scrambling, running. I'll go Watson.
All right, Jared wants to know, he said he's asked this question all week, Edmonds versus Connors full point PPR.
Wow, that's tough. I have them both ranked pretty high this week.
I say give me all the Connor shares. Yeah. I don't know.
I have to get behind that as well.
I mean,
it's tough. They're both close.
It's close. It's not like
Connor is a sure shot. Like, I guess, even though it is PPR, I don't think the running game. He's been a playmaker. Edmonds been a playmaker, but still more for the receptions. Yeah, but I don't know. I know for a fact what I'm getting for Connor. I feel like there's still going to be volatility with Edmonds. That's probably more of a gut reaction than a fact, but I stick with Connor.
All right, going back to G and his DFS, you were on the tight ends, right? This guy Matt wants to know thoughts on Ebron. Do you have him in your tight end pick for your DFS this week?
I don't.
Not at all.
I have him at player pool, but he's not.
Well, that was easy.
He's not. I have out of my 150 rosters, he's only in 3 rosters. So, yeah.
Who are your tight ends? I'm sorry.
I'm targeting let's see, Darren Waller this week. He's probably my number 1 tight end. In the matchup against the Chargers, and he's gonna get peppered with target. Noah Fant, the best matchup of the week versus the Raiders. Versus what's their name? Atlanta Falcons. I also like Albert O as a contrarian play, but one guy that I got on a lot throughout the week was Hayden Hurst. Definitely love Hayden Hurst. I've seen Hayden Hurst when Julio or someone is out, he gets the main target. TJ Hawkinson, I like him too. Even though without Kenny Golladay, he's just getting targeted a lot. He's finally becoming that tight end that everybody wanted him to be. He got 10 targets last week with 7 receptions, 65 yards, 6 targets, 5 receptions, 59 touchdown 2 weeks ago. And the touchdown, he was on a 3 touchdown streak. So I like him. I don't mind Kelsey. I don't mind Jonnu, but not Irv Smith Jr. I'll pass. Not Eric Ebron.
And about Eric Ebron very quickly here, it's not like he's not getting the targets. In the past 5 weeks that he's actually played, he's had 5 or more targets in every game but 1. And he's had red zone targets in every game except 2 games that he's played so far. So it's not like he's not getting the target or the usage. He's not doing a whole lot with them. He only has 3 weeks where he's finished inside the tight end 1, which, mind you, doesn't take much to do anyway, given how weak the tight end value is year in and year out. But yeah, if you're playing Eric Ebron, the Cowboys give up their middling defense from a fantasy perspective against the tight end across the board. So I would not. If he has a low floor and not a very high ceiling either. So even though the usage is there, I just don't trust this offense with Eric Ebron because they're playing the Cowboys, a bad defense anyway, and I would expect them to run the ball more given the Connor usage this week because the Cowboys just haven't been the same offense since Dak went down.
No, I was going to say since Dak died.
Since Dak died.
Hey, Hamid, you want to give me some jokes about Tannehill? What happened to your boy Jonnu fading, brother?
Hey, man, injuries catch up. And hey, I can't – the talent's there. I mean, unlike Ryan Tannehill, who's been healthy, Jonnu's actually been hurt. So let's not hate on Jonnu Smith a whole lot there. I think if I look it up, I'll look it up for you. Let me see who's second on the team in targets.
Well, according to Jared, he said he was on a top 12 tight end. He still is a top 12 tight end, right?
Oh, yeah. He's absolutely –
John.
He absolutely is.
So
yeah, for now. I'm not that's not saying much. Top 12 at a position that scores low every year, that's not saying a lot.
Maybe you should state what you said better next time. We argue top 12, okay? We didn't argue top 7, top 5, but I get your point, though, Jared. I mean, he has faded away the last 3 weeks, but I think that ankle been bothering him. But I think he's going to have a pretty good game today. I think he is.
Oh, by the way, on a per-game basis, Jonnu Smith is averaging 11.3 fantasy points, which is actually tied for 10th amongst all tight ends.
Is A.J. Brown out, though? That could give him more opportunities to break out.
A.J. Brown.
Okay. So A.J.
Brown. Houston Texans tight ends, which one are you playing if you have to choose one? Atkins or Fells?
Darren Fells.
Fells?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I'm not excited about it, but I agree.
I mean, do you have other options? I'd rather ask that question. I do agree, Fells, but I mean, you're banking on a touchdown there. It's a touchdown or bust. That's all you're looking for here. 8 points at the most. But I hope you have other options. If you do, please put it in the chat. We'll talk about it.
A sneaky option, because I'm not staying on for the fantasy stuff, obviously. I think a sneaky option this week, if he's still on waiver wire, is Logan Thomas. So if he's still on your waiver wire, go add him. I'd rather play him over, who did he just say? Fells? Yeah.
Fells, yeah. So your defenses for your DFS. What do you got?
So my defense play this week, I'm not paying – I'll pay up for the Steelers if it makes sense, but my exposures are pretty even. But my number one defense this week, I've nailed defense like the last 4 weeks. I've gotten really lucky. But this week, it sucks because I want him to be a thing because he's really cheap. It's too locked. But I think the Falcons defense at 2,500 with Raheem Morris, they have looked a little different. A lot better than Dan Quinn as the head coach. I think Raheem Morris is like a, what do you call it? A coach people person? What do you call it? How do you say it? Like a motivator?
Yeah.
But
coach.
I like the Falcons defense. And then, of course, the number one defense should be the Steelers defense, but they're very expensive, 4,900. I also like the Washington football team defense and the Giants defense. Those are probably my top 5 defense. But other teams I like is the Titans, Dolphins, Chiefs, and Cardinals.
All right. So DFS questions. If you have any, G is going to be here for the next 11 minutes to answer them. And then he's going to go do his 300 plus lineups.
Yep.
And maybe lots of money.
300 plus lineups. By the way, G, to your point about Matt Ryan, without Calvin Ridley, the point differential on a per game basis is 4 points.
Yeah.
Fantasy points. So it's significant.
Yeah, that's what worried me the most. I didn't see the ceiling. Like, I love Ryan, man. I love playing Ryan and Ridley. I mean, like, to give you guys an idea, in 2 of my main leagues that I have at home with my friends and stuff, in both leagues I did this on purpose, too, because I know I can kill it on the waiver wires. I have Matt Ryan, Calvin Ridley, and Julio Jones in both teams. But I didn't care. I was like, I'm just going to do it. And it's been working out pretty well. I'm like, top 3, both of them, I think. But Ridley being out hurt it. So I think it's a Julio week. I've been saying it all week. Don Julio Jones week, man. Like, I'm gonna pop my bottle of Don Julio today, sip on it, and just watch the game, man. I'm down to that. I'm on all the chat roles we're in. I'm gonna put that same tip every time he scores a touchdown today. Hopefully it's 2 times. That's what I'm hoping for.
Don Julio. All right, DFS Swift versus Jay Jackson. Who do you have?
Oh man, that's pretty close too. But I think I'm gonna have to go with Justin Jackson. I think his what do you call it? His usage is more secure than Swift. Swift always has Adrian Peterson to come in. Like while I think Joshua Kelly's fading. Like he's fading fast. And then that Tremaine Pope guy, I've never heard of. I mean, I've heard of him, but it was like he was on my waiver wire in my Dynasty 16 team league. You know, like that's the only reason why I knew he existed. But until last week, but definitely Justin Jackson this week had a better matchup with the Las Vegas Raiders.
And I have to agree with that as well. Not only is the matchup better, but also the usage is significantly higher. In the last 2 weeks where he's played the Falcons and the Colts, Swift does not even have more than 15 total touches. He has only seen the field more than 50% of the time just once. That was against one of the best defenses in the league in the Colts, where he only scored 5.3 fantasy points. If he's not scoring touchdowns, he's not returning RB3 or even RB2 value. So he's very touchdown dependent to even finish with that ceiling of an RB2 or 3. So yeah, give me Justin Jackson and his very high usage in that backfield.
And let us not forget that Swift has also kind of had his question marks in pass pro, which also limits his opportunities to Hamid's point. So I stay with Jay Jacks as well.
T-Bone Smith wants to know, great name, by the way, Montgomery or DJ Dallas?
No, DJ Dallas.
DJ Dallas. I think I'm done with Montgomery, to be honest with you guys. I just don't see his upside no more.
Yep, Dallas.
3 Dallas is T-Bone.
Not even close. That's not even close, in my opinion. It should be Dallas comfortably.
Jared Good. All right, here you go. Bakhtiari and Hamid.
Nailed it.
Wait, what?
Apparently, I can't say your name and I can't say the left.
You said it perfectly.
Left tackle from what's his name? The Green Bay Packers. I can't say that. I'm sorry.
Nailed it. Jared said you nailed it too. Juju or Waller, DFS?
Waller. I'm not playing any of the. I mean, I don't have a lot of exposure to any of the wide receivers for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That could bite me in the ass, but I just don't think they're really gonna. They just want to get in there, get out. I mean, they're gonna run the ball, and they're gonna play defense. And I don't know the name of the quarterback, Gilbert. I think one of his first name or last name. I don't even know if it's first or last name, but he's gonna get smacked by JJ Watt. No, right? The Watt brothers, Watt and the other guys, everybody they're gonna smack them because they're still missing all their linemen, right?
They what?
They're still missing all their linemen, like the offensive linemen, the Cowboys.
Yep.
Yes, they are. Correct.
I mean, I think I got one. They were one of the best adjusted sack rate matchup this week, and that talk about just imagine being is he a rookie, Gilbert?
Who knows? Where did they pull him from?
Garrett Gilbert. Yeah. I don't even. Did anybody know anything about that guy?
Garrett Gilbert actually performed better in practice throughout the week, and which is why he actually earned the start. The Cowboys are not just simply trying to be like, okay, hey, let's give this guy a shot. Granted, yeah, he hasn't had much competition, but keep in mind, this guy has no experience whatsoever in a starting role. So for the fact that he actually played better in practice than the other quarterbacks that are actually on this roster, just say a little bit. I'm just saying, the fact that he's actually earned
this man's like Space Jam with Michael Jordan. He's just stretching.
I'm not saying he's going to put up QB1 or even high QB2 numbers here.
He's going to put up QB10 numbers.
I'm not saying this guy's going to be great or you ever start him. I'm just saying I'm curious to see how he does. I'm very curious.
Steelers defense. Really
I guess it's a bad week to play him, but yeah, I'm very curious to see how he does. I'm very curious to see how the offense looks behind him.
On the topic of tight ends, real quick, I wanted to get this out and run it by G, especially too. But low key, Evan Ingram, I believe, is the hot play this week. He's gotten, I believe it was 19 targets the last 2 games, was it? Like they're force feeding him the ball and trying to get him opportunity to expand and play. So might be something onto that.
Not just has he seen 19 targets in the past 2 weeks. Get this. The last 2 weeks, he's seen 4 red zone targets, 3 of them coming in last week. So, again, here's the key, though. Yes, he's getting the volume. He's getting the offensive snaps as well. He's seeing the field at least 77% or higher in every single week that he's playing. The issue, however, is his total yardage is still very, very low. In the past 3 weeks, he's only surpassed 40. Actually, all season, he's only surpassed 60 yards twice all year. So, yes, he's getting the targets. The offense is still very inefficient. He's a great tight end to have if you do have him as your tight end 1, which is very good. The usage is there. Last 5 weeks, he's finished tight end 13 or better, which is not saying a whole lot, but at least where you're streaming your options, he may become an every week starter at this point, given the position. But until this offense becomes more efficient, he becomes more efficient with those targets, I still say his ceiling is limited because of the offense.
This is a lineup this guy has, all right? And he wants to know if he should switch out. His quarterback is Herbert. His wide receivers are Anderson, McLaurin. His running back is Alvin Kamara, Chase Edmonds. His tight end is Gronk, and his flex is A.J. Brown. On his bench, he has DJ Moore, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Antonio Gibson, and Aaron Jones, which doesn't matter. So should he switch and put CEH in or DJ Moore in?
Is he undefeated? That's a hell of a lineup.
He doesn't say if he's undefeated. It's a PPR too.
Who was the tight end? I missed the tight end part.
His tight end is wrong, but he doesn't have a tight end replacement.
That was too long of a question, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a lot to take in.
All right. Anderson, McLaurin are the wide receivers. Would you play them or would you play DJ Moore?
I stick with Anderson. He gets more targets.
Okay. Running backs, which is ridiculous. He has Kamara and Edmonds, and he has CEH on his bench. Would you switch one of those out for CEH in a PPR?
No.
So you like his lineup as it is?
I do. I went back on CEH.
You would?
I've fallen back on CEH this year. CEH and Jonathan Taylor. I'm those 2 guys I'm falling back on. So no, I'm good on. Edmund's gonna get all the workload.
Yep.
All right. Another question. Narrowing it down: Jay Jackson or Waller for DFS?
Jackson, I guess, because the volume. But I mean, I love Waller too. But I mean,
I'm on with Jackson, man. He's been running like an animal, a beast. I love it.
I wouldn't start tight end in the flex though, because that DFS, I'll never start a tight end in the flex. I'll use that for running back or wide receiver.
Okay.
I agree. Justin Jackson is the play.
So
Waller.
Half point PPR, pick 2, JT, DJ Dallas, or Zach Moss?
JT is who? Jonathan Taylor?
Jonathan Taylor, DJ Dallas, or Zach Moss?
Oh, I hate saying this, but DJ Dallas and Zach Moss.
I have DJ Dallas finishing as an RB1 this week, so I'm starting him.
We're in consensus again. There's something weird about this Sunday.
So you guys are all JT on the
I mean, they're going to win $1 million.
Hey, don't forget about little people like me when you do.
I won't.
Just so you guys know, Jared is totally disagreeing with you. He is saying Waller by a mile on the G Jackson or Waller question.
You tell Jared.
Don't feed the trolls. He's only supposed to have clown plays.
What's the value in Justin Jackson and Waller in DFS? How much are they going for?
Let's see, like the value or the point?
What's the actual cost to play them?
And real quick, excuse me, guys, real quick. I'll be back in like 30 seconds.
Oh, we don't need you anyway.
Waller is 5,800. Jackson is 4,900. I know that off the top of my head.
Oh, then yeah, that's for me, Jackson. Yeah, at that value, absolutely.
So we're gonna have to let G go so he can get his 300 plus lineups in and figure out what he's doing. Finish drinking that big glass of ice or whatever it is. Is it Don Julio? Are you drinking Don Julio now?
Don Julio.
Not yet. I don't drink when I'm going to make my roster.
Really?
I'll drink after. I mean, I'll drink a couple beers, but not like I won't do liquor while I'm making my roster. But I mean, good luck this week. Play Julio Jones. Stack the good games. The good stacking games are definitely Seattle, Buffalo, Chargers, Vegas Raiders. Those are two games I'm very high on, but I also don't mind Atlanta stack, Kansas City, Carolina, Minnesota, Detroit. All right, guys, best of luck. Oh, wow. Hamid left you too? Okay. I'll stay on here, I guess, till someone comes back.
I don't want you to miss your stuff.
No, you're good. Just keep going. Ask me any further, Hamid. Okay. I'm out. Best of luck, guys. Peace out.
See you next week. All right, see you Tuesday on your waiver. All right, Hamid, we are waiting for Jared, which sorry, Jared, took him out. While we're waiting for him, are there any new injuries that aren't playing that we should know about?
Well, no, there are no surprises as far as the inactives are concerned. We do have, of course, Calvin Ridley, Mark Ingram are both out. T.Y. Hilton has been ruled out. Golden Tate is being disciplined. It's not actually injury related. I don't know the details as far as what type of disciplinary benching this is, but yeah, so it's not injury related for anybody that has Golden Tate. Otherwise, there are no surprise inactives. Jamison Crowder has a Monday night game. He is expected to play. But I would, of course, have a backup plan just in case, but he's fully expected to play this week.
And you said Tim Patrick is playing?
Tim Patrick is also active. That's correct.
Yeah. And Calvin Ridley is out definitely or no?
Calvin Ridley is out. He's not playing.
Okay. Welcome back, Jared. Missed you. All right. We're going to do the starts and sits for your week. Who you want to start in the quarterback position is a must start, Jared.
Quarterback.
Must start. Have to have them. Must.
To me, I'm still on the Herbert train, man. The dude's been a machine. I mean, I think it might be more obvious. And then maybe the sleeper play might be Cam, just given the fact that the Jets the defense got destroyed.
Yeah.
Last week, so see more of that happen this week. So I'd probably say Cam is my sleeper, and then Herbert's just been on fire. So
keep in mind with Cam though, the only concern is that who's he throwing to? Like really. They're going to be running this ball a ton against the Jets. I think Cam's ceiling is actually extremely limited this week because of the opponent they're facing. And remember, these division games tend to be pretty tough, especially the Jets do play the Patriots tough, even when Tom Brady was there with the full roster. So I actually gotta say, if I'm not calling Cam a sleeper, I would avoid him altogether this week. It's not like he's been doing a whole lot anyway since the first 3 weeks of the season. To your Herbert point, though, man, the dude's been on fire. 27 fantasy points 4 weeks in a row, and I don't see that stopping this week either. But must starts of the week, of course, Josh Allen against Seattle and Russell Wilson. You have them, you're starting them, of course. I mean, the offense, Josh Allen has been on. The past 3 weeks, he hasn't been really well. Actually, you can argue the past 4 weeks, he hasn't been great. He's been under 20 fantasy points in all 4 weeks. So I do think that this is a bounce-back game for him as he was producing earlier in the year where he had 29 fantasy points a week. So I think this is a ceiling game for him. I think he finishes between 28 to 30 fantasy points, along with, of course, Russell Wilson. Another start I think is a must-start, in my opinion, is Derek Carr, believe it or not. In 5 games, last week, granted, against the Browns, he had a pretty bad game. But if anybody watched that game, you saw it was pouring there. So I think this is a game where Derek Carr gets it right. And keep in mind, he's playing a defense that allowed 5 passing touchdowns to combine to Minshew and Drew Lock. So I think Derek Carr has a solid opportunity to finish inside the QB1 this week. So those are my must-starts at QB.
I'm sorry. Your thoughts on Antonio Brown this week? Any thoughts on Antonio Brown this week?
If I recall off the top of my head, the one game he had with Tom Brady was he finished with 4 receptions for, I believe, 41 yards and a touchdown. And he, I believe, had 8 targets, if I recall. This is totally off the top of my head. So, and bear in mind, Brady pushed hard to get Antonio Brown. As soon as Antonio Brown was eligible, I think the very next day he signed with the Bucs. So, granted, I don't think he's going to see the targets. I don't think he's going to get a full lot of snaps. But keeping in mind, Chris Godwin is out, so we may see him on the field more of in some instances, a decoy, but he is going to see his targets. I think he has about 6 to 8 targets this week with potential. I think that's his floor. And I think he does get around 8 to 10 fantasy points this week. With a touchdown, of course, I'll be elevated, but I'm taking 8 to 10 fantasy points this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got to co-sign that. It's more of a flex option this week than expecting anything higher than WR4, WO3 numbers. The ceiling is there, but it's not something I'm going to bank on, at least the first week.
All right, Gina J wants to know, start one, and congratulations on your wife or not having COVID. We're happy that she's well.
That's
PPR,
awesome.
Dobbins, Lindsay, Bell. He has Lamar at quarterback. So you're starting one of these 3. J.K. Dobbins, Lindsay, Le'Veon Bell.
For me, it's got to be Dobbins, and that's because of opportunity. Last week he saw 72% of the offensive snaps. He had 15 carries, 2 in the red zone, and he ran 21 routes. That's featured back usage right there in itself. Granted, the total number of touches he had was only 16. He had over 100 yards. The issue was he didn't finish as an RB1 because he didn't have any touchdowns to go with it. He finished RB19. Now, if you look past that, though, look at the usage. The usage in itself is enough for me to carry him as the best option out of the 3.
And that's what I was going to say. He's actually my running back start of the week. I'm excited about him and James Robinson. Robinson with the new quarterback, Luton, they might end up putting him in a larger workhorse role, but Dobbins has just been a freak. And, I know that he's still splitting with Gus Edwards, but it's just a matter of time before he's just dominating that backfield. And, even with Lamar in the backfield there, I'm still starting Dobbins confidently and feeling good about it.
Dobbins was my rookie RB1 out of this class. I loved him out of Ohio State.
Okay, since we're on running backs, what do you have? Who do you have your start? Is that what you had, Jared, for your start of the week was Dobbins?
Dobbins, and if I can have a second, James Robinson was my other one I liked. Now, they might be able to scheme against him, too, so we got to be, I'm not trying to contradict myself, but there's probably a nice floor for RB2 with his typical high RB1. But it's more than ever, especially more from the DFS standpoint. I like him a lot as well. I have him a couple lineups this week. So
let me ask you this question. What about, are you worried about Shenault, the way they use him, that he will, with a new quarterback, get some of those carries out of the back and the short passes that Robinson would get to raise his ceiling?
Nothing that'll destroy it. I'm not as concerned.
Okay.
I wouldn't worry about Shenault from James Robinson. The matchup is pretty nice for James Robinson. My starts of the week, actually, I think DJ Dallas is a must start. I think he finishes inside RB1 this week. His usage last week was a featured back, which was he had 22 or 23 total touches last week, and that was against the Niners defense. And he had 22 fantasy points in PPR, of course.
He was the only healthy back on the roster, though, too.
Yeah, but given who's healthy this week? There's no Carlos Hyde or Chris Carson this week as well.
Homer's back.
Yeah, but is he?
Homer's back. Will take the third down opportunity.
Right, but so even if let's say we bring it down from 23 to let's say 18 touches, I still think his ceiling is an RB1. Now, last week I think he had a receiving touchdown and he had a rushing touchdown. He had the targets. I believe it was 5 targets. He caught all 5 of them. Didn't do much with them, though. I think he was held under 20 receiving yards. But I think he's a start of the week, given that he's getting that bell cow work. And for DFS folks, I actually looked this up just now. I think he's valued at 5,100 in DFS. That is an insane value for someone who has an RB1 ceiling. So DJ Dallas is my start of the week. Also, this is not necessarily everybody's start of the week, but I think you should start him if you haven't. Damian Harris, the 2 games where he's seen at least double-digit total touches, he's had 100 yards in both, which were against the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. So, I think he only has 1 touchdown for the year, but I think he's going to be featured back this week against the Jets, a defense which he should be able to run against, and that's given up already 7 rushing touchdowns to the running back this year. And I think the Patriots are going to control this game with the run, which limits Cam Newton, of course. And I think Damian Harris is going to have another 100-yard rushing game today. Touchdown's a bit of hit or miss, because he only has 1 all year.
Okay. Question from Matt. Matt Jones Jr. versus Brandon Cooks or Mooney? I'm guessing it's redraft. Matt, is it redraft or DFS? Oh, he's DFS. So Matt Jones Jr., Brandon Cooks or Mooney, DFS play.
So for me,
Marvin Jones.
So for me, it's Brandon Cooks. Now, granted, yes, I believe it was last week or the week before. Marvin Jones had 2 touchdowns. He only had, I think, 39 receiving. He only had. I'll have to look this up. He's touchdown dependent. I do know that. Yes, I'm aware Golladay is out, but keep in mind also early in the year when Golladay was out those 3 weeks, Marvin Jones Jr. was not really producing either. But the play for me here is Brandon Cooks. Now, look at the last 3 weeks. His usage has been insane. At least 9 targets all last three weeks, and he's had 2 red zone targets in the last 2 weeks. He's on the field 86% or more every single week except week 1. And he also has at least 7 receptions in the past 3 weeks, and he's finished as an RB6 and 3 2 out of the 3 weeks. So I think and against Jacksonville's defense, which is not very good against the wide receivers, I think Brandon Cook's ceiling is huge this week. I think he faces inside the wide receiver 1. Mind you, this is the same defense he's facing, which he had 8 receptions at 161 yards, finishing as a wide receiver 3 overall that week. And I think that was week 4 or 5. So absolutely, you start Brandon Cooks this week.
I'm going to go not absolutely, but what do you have, Jared? Who do you think? Sure.
I'm at a toss up. I gotta just lean with knowing Matthew Stafford's playing. I gotta go with Marvin Jones. He's proven that he can catch the get the touchdown receptions, and Stafford's kind of locking in on him again, regardless of the other Marvin. I think Jones is the guy that you want to play. Just given the offense, or just given the Detroit's offense and how much chemistry that they have built. I know Jones has proved in the past that he can't always be that WR1, but I truly think Hawkinson running the seams opens up the outside for Jones to be able to play.
So let me add to that really quickly. Sorry guys, just really quickly. Let me add one more thing to that though about Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones has how many games of wide receiver 1 finishes this year? 0. How many wide receiver 2 finishes? Just 1. How many higher than RB 38 all year? Just 1. Every other game has been below wide receiver 38 overall. He's only crossed 55 receiving yards once all year, and that was not even week 8. It was week 7 against the Falcons. Last week, he had 2 touchdowns, but only 39 total yards. I don't trust that.
We're going just this week. Marvin Jones is playing against Minnesota Vikings, whose secondary is decimated with not only injuries, but they're just letting people go. He led in targets weeks 1 and 2 when Golladay was gone on that team. Last week, he had a 59.98 snap share. I say Marvin Jones is going to get all the looks, him and TJ Hawkinson. I would go Marvin Jones too. So, Matt, you have 2 Marvin Jones and 1 Brandon Cooks. Kyle wants to know PPR, Gus Edwards or Demarcus Robinson?
Oh. Ow. Oh, my God. Can someone flip a coin and just make a picture? Wow, that's tough, man. Now, Sammy Watkins is not playing, of course. But go ahead.
You go Gus the Bus here. I think Hardman finally surpassed Robinson on the chart from what we've seen. I believe he's outsnapped him, the past 2 weeks now? That's only because I started Hardman 3 weeks ago on a DFS play, and that's when he did nothing. So, it's like that taunting.
So we know not to play him, because you're the DFS jinx of the year. Like everyone you play gets hurt.
Yes, he is. He really.
Who needs enemies when I have friends like you two?
No, I mean, it's just helpful.
You called it out yourself on Twitter, okay? You brought that up yourself.
Yeah,
you love those posts. You love them.
I did. I loved it. So, regarding Gus Edwards,
yeah, you go Gus the Bus here. Yeah. Go ahead, Hamid.
PPR though, Gus Edwards only has more than one target this year. All but once. He had 3 targets, I think, 3 weeks ago. Outside of that, he's never seen more than 1 target. Or is that reception? I may have that wrong. But I'll have to look that up again. Sorry. But I'm going to Marcus Robinson here. You're going for the upside play here, of course. Again, this is really, really tough to call. He is getting the targets, though. He is on the field at least 50% of the offensive snaps every single week. His targets are really fluctuating 4 to 6 to 1 to 5 in the past 4 weeks. So, but give me the upside with DeMarcus Robinson.
Kyle, I'm really sorry. That's just like really, it's like Sophie's bad choice. It's really, really bad. I don't know. I mean, DeMarcus Robinson's in a better offense. Would be my only.
They spread the touchdown passes around everywhere, though.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, yikes. Who's Baltimore playing this week? Indy?
Yes.
They are playing the Colts. That is correct.
In case he's playing
Carolina. Which is a tough defense, too, especially with Darius Leonard back. So there is some barriers, if you will, with Gus the Bus. I personally think Dobbins, that's what I said, like with his dual threat ability with passing catching. That's why I still my start of the week. It's gutsy. It's just there's a madman. But with Gus, I still think there's touchdown opportunity inside the red zone as well, though. Okay. Come on, Mr. Stats. Go ahead and disagree like you always do.
I've already laid my case as to why I disagree, but it's PPR too. So how are you trusting a running back who's not even seeing the volume in PPR? His targets, actually, yes, it is targets. He has 0 receptions on the year, actually. So why would you even consider him in PPR?
Is he still going to get the touchdown today? You watch.
All right, how many did your tight end start? You watch.
So my wide receiver. Oh, sorry. Is it tight end or wide receiver? You asked.
Oh, wide receiver. I'm sorry. I thought we did that. Wide receiver.
So I kind of trusted my wide receiver, which I kind of overkilled already, which is Brandon Cooks. Past 3 weeks, he's at least has had 13 PPR points at least, and he had 30 PPR points against the Jaguars, having 8 receptions, over 160 yards and a touchdown. So I expect him to replicate that. I mean, not to that point, but I think he still has over 100 yards. And the touchdowns were a little fluctuating, but I think he has about 8 receptions and 100 receiving yards. My other star of the week is Tim Patrick. I do know our fantasy G prefers, I'm pretty sure he prefers Judy over Tim Patrick. But the games that he's been healthy, he's been targeted the most on that team, actually. He's seen at least, when he's healthy, of course, at least 70% of the offensive snaps that he's seen when he's on the field for a full game. Now, yes, you're banking on a touchdown. He has 2 100-yard games, but he only had more than 5 receptions once all year. So it's the air yards and the yards after catch that you're banking on. I think the Falcons' defense offers exactly that. It caters to his skill set, which is why I think he is a start of the week for me.
What was Patrick's injury?
You stole my.
What was Patrick's injury?
Hammy, I think.
I believe it was a hamstring as well.
Okay.
Let me check here. I'll find out for you in a second. Sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. I just threw that at you. Jared, you and Hamid agree? Is that what's happening on this wide receiver thing?
This is terrible.
Yeah, he took my thunder on that one, and then believe it or not, I'm actually going to go back. My other one's actually going to be Chase Claypool. I'm going to pick on Dallas a little bit. Main reason for me is this. He's actually been a playmaker of that team outside of Deontay Johnson. And for me, maybe I'm going crazy, maybe this is a reach, but I feel like Johnson might not get as much play time just because he's consistently been getting hurt. So this might almost act as more of a buy for Johnson and giving Claypool more opportunities instead. So he's going to be my other guy to actually play, even though I know there's Juju and I know Johnson's there. But since Claypool's going to be that sneaky guy, it's that sneaky play today.
Keep in mind, since Deontay Johnson's been back, Claypool's actually offensive snap share has dropped from averaging 75% to about 63% since Deontay Johnson is back. And he's finished outside wide receiver 2 in both weeks, with finishing under 1 point in 1 week and 13.2, which is wide receiver 32 overall. So
go ahead, Mr. Numbers. Well, I'm gonna text you and let you know when he scores today. No big deal.
No big deal. Oh, thank you, Matt. We appreciate you. Thank you for listening. So Claypool. So you picked Claypool over Deontay Johnson in the Dallas game, even though
yes.
I don't want to take sides, so I'm just going to stick out of this one. Tight ends. Jared, who do you have for your tight end play?
I'm gonna bang the gong again. Same thing in Evan Engram, opportunities king, and even in a PPR, especially in a PPR situation, they're literally trying to focus and give this man every opportunity to run the offense. And yes, while he hasn't really turned jaw-dropping numbers, he's also getting the targets to actually produce. So the opportunities king, as Hamid and I always say, and 19 targets in 2 weeks. You have to play him.
You're not worried about Washington's defense? You're not worried about Washington's front line, their defense getting to Danny Dimes and him not being able to get the ball to Ingram? No, not so much. Jared?
Check down, baby. Check down.
Yeah, good point. Hamid, you, tight end?
So for me, actually, I'm not going Evan Engram here. Just one little fact for you, real quick, here about Evan Engram before I give you my 2 tight end start of the weeks. Out of Evan Ingram's targets of 54, only 41 have been considered catchable, which ranks number 24 amongst all. So I'm just saying, like, not only is the offense inefficient, but the targets that he's actually receiving, a lot of them are 75.9% of his targets are catchable. That's 1 out of every 4 that are not catchable targets. So given that
this man just knows everything. He knows everything. He might as well. I thought he might have the stats and the cure for COVID at this point. Apparently, he's just know it all. And no matter what, so one day opportunity and king. Opportunity is well, let's find a reason. You ran over yourself today.
It's opportunity plus efficiency that you're banking on. That's why we all love Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf every year. But okay, my starts for the week are T.J. Hockenson and Noah Fant. T.J. Hockenson has been, I think he's an every week must start. His floor is 9.3 fantasy points. That's the lowest he's scored any time this year. So give me T.J. Hockenson as a must start, especially with Kenny Golladay out. You can easily see him having at least 10 to 12 targets. It would not surprise me if he finishes inside the top 5 amongst tight ends. Just ahead of him, though, I do have Noah Fant, and it's because of the matchup. Granted, Tim Patrick is healthy. That actually wide receiver core is healthy, and the RBs both are healthy. Lindsey is active, so Melvin Gordon and Lindsey are playing. Judy, Tim Patrick, Noah Fant are all going to be on the field. I do think that limits his target share a little bit, but I expect him to run at least 30 routes, which he ran against Steelers and the Bucs in week 2 and 3, because I expect this game to be relatively high scoring. Given that, I would say Noah Fant has the opportunity to finish as tight end 2 behind Kelsey this week.
Kyle says, talking about tight ends, he has a hard decision: PPR, Albert O, or Greg Olsen. Yikes! Yeah. Is this the same team with Gus Edwards and Demarcus Robinson? I'm just curious.
Who wants to pronounce his last name? Albert's last name. Anybody want to take a stab at it?
Go ahead. Give it a shot.
Bunam.
Dude,
so you start Albert O here. One thing that we're starting to trend and see with Olsen is he's fading back in his snap count, right? So, you got Disley's finally at about that year range, give or take a week or 2 from his previous major injury. What was it, an ACL? And the snap counts are slowly increasing, and as they're going up, that's more opportunity for Disley and less likely for Olsen. So I go Albert over here.
Ahmed, what say you?
That's talk about a major toss-up here, man. Oh, this is really, really rough. So, okay, talking about efficiency, and now I'm going to contradict myself again, Jared, because the numbers say even though the opportunity is not there necessarily, though the efficiency is there. So Albert O here, he's never seen more than 42.6% of the snap share, and that's been the last 3 weeks that he's actually been active. So in last week, he only had 1 reception, 1 target in the red zone, happened to turn into a touchdown. And that's where, so now, Greg, I don't think he'll have I don't think he'll have the touchdown here, but I would have to say, even though Greg Olsen is seeing more consistent targets, given the it will not surprise me if both of them have touchdowns this week, but oh man, I'm going to contradict myself, and I hate myself for saying that I'm going to have to go Albert O, even though Greg Olsen is seeing more targets and more of the snap share. I hate this. I hate it, though. I don't like it.
But you guys agree. So
I know, but I'm contradicting my argument that I just made against Evan Ingram. So
that was a Stretch Armstrong way of having to agree with me, but he had to talk a little bit like we wouldn't notice.
Yeah. So we want everyone to get their lineups in. So Jared, what are your parting words of wisdom? Are you going to put your DFS lineups on Twitter so people know right ahead of time who to play and who not to, or what's your? I'm only
charging fees, so you have to Venmo or PayPal me that. Now we will. I do want to question though, just the general. So no thought of the day. This will be the question of the day: turkey or ham for Thanksgiving, or is there a third option that you have?
It's a third option because I'm vegan, so I would have neither turkey nor ham. I have tofu turkey. Yum.
Well, isn't that called
nice.
Tofurkey? I know there's a name for it.
Tofurkey.
Tofurkey, right?
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
that's what it is.
Yeah, it's delicious.
I do like tofu, even though it's tasteless. You have to actually add flavor to it, and it's a great absorbent of flavor, which I really like about tofu. So I do like tofu too. So good for you. My alternative, though, I'm a huge sushi guy. So give me sushi on Thanksgiving, guys.
Give you what?
Interesting.
Give me sushi on Thanksgiving.
What do you have, Jared? Jared, what's yours?
I typically do. Well, my aunt does both. That's the thing that stunk about moving from Ohio down here. She always made a big spread. It was nice, but I like ham more, I think.
Kyle's with you. He likes so there you go. So Jared, where can we find you, and what are you writing this week about?
RICCO_3733. Yeah, that's a good question. To be determined.
That's what I do. And
you can find me on Twitter on FFJunkie85, and I've been actually out the past couple of weeks as far as writing due to work, but I'll be back this week writing my Dynasty Buy Low and Sell High Players of the Week. Also, for DFS purposes, I do play in one free league. My lineup very quickly is Josh Allen, James Conner, DJ Dallas, Stephon Diggs, Tyler Lockett, Will Fuller, Hawkinson, Allen Robinson, and I punt defense, so I'm starting Vikings defense against the Lions.
All right, so we're not going to see you Wednesday, so I would like to wish Hamid Happy Veterans Day, and thank you for your service so much.
Salute, sir.
Oh, thanks. Wow.
And everyone, good luck. You can find me on Twitter at NeverEnoughGLT. I will be writing a start and sit that comes out, I believe, on Thursday. Always listen to Going for Two live. We have shows every day to help you with your lineups. Good luck with your lineups today. Pay very close attention to what Jared's playing.
Yes. Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's getting hurt on his lineup.
You'll never know until after. You'll never know until after.
So everyone, thank you so much. We will see you next week.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.